Hello and welcome to We Got a podcast about Dragon Ball from A to Z, from Earth to Namek to Sadala. We cover it all. My name is Randy.
And I'm Doug.
And I'm Ken, and I'm still here.
Oh, God. We've got to let him out of the box.
Yeah, Doug, you do that. I'll finish this up. We're the world's strongest under the heavens trio de dangers here every other week to talk your ear off about fights, goofs, and everything else in the Dragon Ball cosmos. So let's talk about what's new with us real quick. Doug, what's new with you?
Nothing.
Okay, but you did get Ken out of the box.
I did, yeah. I found the key.
Okay, great. So, Ken, now that you're out of the box, what's new with you?
I'm sweaty, man. I have been doing the world's longest Metroid Prime playthrough, where I play a few hours every week. But I'm right at the end now. I have all the artifacts. I just got to go do the final stretch and get really mad, I'm assuming, in a final stretch of boss battles.
Oh, do you have all of the life tank upgrades too?
I have all but one.
Okay. Well, I went in there just a couple of days ago, and I think I was missing 3 or 4, and I made it on first try, so I believe in you.
Okay. As long as it's not as bad as that Omega Pirate fight, then I'll be good.
No, that one I think was tougher. But yeah, I think you'll be okay. But that's good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, I assume. You're protracting it because you love it, not because you're disliking it.
I think this might be in my top 10 games of all time.
Wow. Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah, everyone says Resident Evil 4 is on there for people, and I can never get into that game, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because I just finished the remake. I beat it in 2 days. Wow. Man, what a trip.
Yeah, it looks incredible.
So good.
But for me, I just the gameplay doesn't appeal to me at all. I don't know. I'm a scaredy cat also, so that doesn't help.
Oh, it's not so bad. Even though the first time I played the original GameCube one, I screamed and threw the controller in the air.
Out of fear?
But out of fear.
Nice.
Exactly. I got spooked. I walked around a corner and a guy, swung at me with a hatchet, and I luckily pressed the pause button as I threw the controller up and screamed.
I have no idea why I bought Resident Evil 7 on VR. I played it for like a minute and I'm like, nope, can't do this. Took the headset off. Not doing that ever again.
Yeah, that's diving in deep.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to do this
in VR.
alone, and I'm not going to do it with my friends because they'll scare me out of the VR headset while I'm in it. So I know I can't trust anyone.
You can't. You have untrustworthy friends. They do bring you food, but they are apparently trying to kill you.
Yeah, every minute.
When I did scream and throw that controller, it was in front of a friend, and I do feel embarrassed about it still.
You think about it
because it was in front of
to your therapist. I get you.
John doesn't need to know about my Resident Evil traumas. All right. Well, this is actually fun. This is an April Fool's Day episode. We're putting out a little bit early because we need to talk about the most important thing in the world, which is Netflix announced a Scott Pilgrim anime, and it's going to be voiced by all the original movie cast, and this is now a Scott Pilgrim anime podcast.
Hell yes. When I saw that announcement, I was like, I'm excited. That's all I can say.
It's everything I could ever want. The studio is the same people that did Devilman Crybaby. Like,
really?
We're going at it hard. They're going to give it their all.
I feel like this is too good to be true. Like, this is like everything you would want. So, like, what's the catch?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the catch is that Netflix is doing it and they're going to do a horrible job. I don't know. But just give me more Scott Pilgrim with the original cast, and I'm there.
Right? What do you think? Do you think this is going to be multi-season, or do you think they're going to be able to power through the entire story in one season?
I don't know. They already told the entire story in a movie, didn't they? So they just got to do their own thing. They have the characters. Characters are the selling point, really. They can do anything with them.
You think they're doing something different?
Yeah.
They're not doing the regular story?
Is Scott O'Neill, is that his name? Is he involved at all? Did it say on the thing?
It's not his name. Brian Lee O'Malley.
Wow. I knew it was something with an apostrophe at the last name.
Scott McNeil. He's here. He wrote Scott Pilgrim. He voiced Piccolo.
Listen, I wanted to buy the graphic novels at one point, and I got really confused with the volumes that was sold. Like, people tell me, don't buy this version, buy this version. I was like, okay, forget it. I'm not going to buy him at all.
Oh, I just picked up the full color ones, and I like them. I know some people prefer the original, and that's fine. I don't hold it against them.
There's like a little asterisk at the bottom of one of them where it's like, this joke would have made more sense if this was black and white. I think there was something like that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep. Yeah, it's good. I know what you're thinking. You probably saw the title of the episode, or maybe even the show notes, and that we're not talking about Scott Pilgrim the whole time. So I suppose we have to stop talking about.
Yeah,
Scott
I could say
Pilgrim.
we're done with that.
But it's a tradition now because that's 2 years in a row we talked about
What
Scott
are the
Pilgrim
odds?
on
Yeah.
April Fools. What are the odds? Yeah, who knew that this would happen today of all days, recording day?
And next year is my solo movie commentary. So look forward to that.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna do your own.
Yeah. Where I'm like, I kind of remember this movie. Oh, yeah, this part was good.
I would love to hear that.
I don't remember this.
I would add it to my commentary
I
tracks.
I
thought he did.
This is something different. Weird.
The way Randy says this line doesn't hit the same.
Michael Cera looks young here.
Right. Pre-face melting. I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's
no.
mean to say.
You went there.
It's not a physical condition. I just think his face looks like it's melting.
April Fool's, Michael Cera. He's just joking.
We just lost a fan.
We did. He was all on board, and he's out. I love you, Michael. Please
what are
give
we
me
talking
a call.
about today, Randy?
So we're going to talk about Dragon Ball AF, but apparently there's more than one. Ken, what's the deal? How many of these things are there?
Well, there's the two real big popular ones. There's, the one from Toyble, a.k.a. Toyotarou, and then Young Gigi, which sounds like a great rapper name if you ask me.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's another one. So, Randy, how do you want to handle this? You want me to just kind of jump in, dive into the history? Because today we'll be covering the Toyotarou version of Dragon Ball AF.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have gone above and beyond putting together all these notes and doing much more research than I have. I read the thing and I'm like, cool, I can't wait to talk about it. But you, I think, are best suited to take the helm here. So if you don't mind, I'd love to hear you give me a history lesson on Toyble's AF.
Yeah, so it all starts... first of all, I want to give shouts out to a few things. First of all, the Wayback Machine. We cannot exist as a society without archive.org.
Wow.
We must protect it at all costs. Okay,
Absolutely.
Because I did have to use it for some of this. Just to even get through Toyotaro's old Toyble website, you have to use the Wayback Machine.
Dang.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does not exist. Well, it exists, but none of the links work anymore.
Right.
Of course, Kanzenshu. The Kanzenshu wiki, which people don't have access to. There is already a comprehensive Toyotarou page that I kind of picked through. The Kanzenshu forums, which of course date back 2 decades-ish now.
Yeah.
So you can find a lot of people talking about AF very early on, which was hilarious and insightful. And then Derek Padula, who does the Tao of Dragon Ball series, I believe,
Derek.
who also contributed to some of the research that I stumbled upon. So Dragon Ball AF, the earliest we can kind of go back for this is an iconic image that I'm sure as long as we have all been fans of Dragon Ball, we have known this image to exist. So while we were watching Vegeta on Namek, we were, of course, going online and finding this image of a white-haired, who we believe to be Goku.
Right.
And turns out this was art submitted by a David Montiel Franco. He submitted it to a magazine called Hobby Consolas. It's a Spanish video game magazine, and it appeared in the May 1999 issue.
I tell you, man, the Spanish, we love ourselves from Dragon Ball, like up and beyond.
Very, very dedicated group. These days he goes by Tablos AF online, and he does have his own AF comic. I'm not sure how recently he's been working on it. He is active on Twitter these days.
Wow.
So it's interesting to see that. Back in 2012, Derek Padula went back and forth with Franco, who really didn't want to answer his questions. He was just like, Padula would reach out to him and Franco would be like, just, hey, I got this blog, just go read my blog. But he did confirm that he did draw the image, but that the image isn't necessarily even Goku, and that it's a fan character of his called Tablos, which is where he gets Tablos AF from.
Right.
That's interesting. I did not know that until literally today.
Same.
Yeah. Every time I've seen it posted online, even back in the day, it's like, this is Super Saiyan 5's Goku.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, I believe it.
Everyone took that and just ran with it, and it's in both Toyotaro's and Young Gigi's manga. That is Goku wearing that outfit in that form.
Yeah.
There's also a character called Xicor who is in this version of the manga. I don't think he's in Young Gigi's, but the idea of Xicor also predates Toyotarou. Toyotarou working on AF, not his birth or anything.
Right.
Right.
And it seemingly comes from a fake episode list that was circulating sometime in the early 2000s. Kanzenshu thinks that it is post 2002 because it wasn't showing up in any news groups, but I'll leave that to Mike because I never touched any sort of news group ever in my life. You could tell me what a news group is, and I just kind of nod politely because I don't quite understand.
Right. I think we're too young for that, oddly.
Yeah. And then it's funny, if you go and look on the Kanzenshu forums, and I did a search for Xicor because I just wanted to find what was the earliest mention of this character on the Kanzenshu forums, and sure enough, there's someone talking about him in 2004, being like, man, that Xicor guy is cool, or something like that. But just interesting that to go back and look at all of these AF impressions, and that this was all before the AF that we probably feel like we've known forever, even though it's really only been about 15 years.
Yeah, that seems wild. For whatever reason, it feels like it's the concept of it has always been around since I've kind of explored Dragon Ball. When do you know when AF as a thing kind of came about, timeline-wise?
Well, I think the earliest goes back to this image.
So it wasn't anything before that. It literally was just this took off.
I suppose because it is right there in the corner. They're like, okay, well, this is the next story or what have you.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1999 is kind of when AF started. That makes sense because I started looking around online for things around that time.
Me downloading illegal episodes on Kazaa always led to images, allegedly, led to images of Super Saiyan 5 Goku.
So this is when Toyotarou enters the scene, then calling himself Toyble. And the furthest back we can look at when he started putting out his AF was November 8th, 2006. And this is kind of corroborated by a later blog post he did where he said, and he goes and he posts all the comments people had from that first posting. And it's because it's all kind of muddy on his blog now, and you're having to go through Wayback Machine, which is super slow. And so it looks like November 8th, 2006 is when his AF started.
Okay.
Now, as me being confused, is that what we were assigned to read? This, or is this something different? Okay, so this is what we're talking. Okay.
Yeah, you did the right thing.
Good.
If you saw Toyble on the front, you read the right book.
Yes.
If you read the link that I may or may not have sent you, allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Yeah. So over the next about 6 years, he sells his volumes online through Mandarake and in person at Comiket, which is a comic market for doujinshi
in Japan.
It means comic market. It's a doujinshi convention, which nowadays, whenever I see stuff associated with Comiket, AF seems like it would almost be too, how should we say, tasteful.
Safe for work
to show up at something like this.
It's always opposite of blue.
It's always in that building that you see in like a lot of anime, right? The iconic, I want to say like upside down pyramid building in Japan. Is that the right building?
I don't watch a lot of anime.
Oh, well.
Surprisingly.
You just read AF, I gotcha.
That's all we're here for, man. We just read these weird fan things.
So he would make these volumes, and then he would also post the pages online. So his final volume goes to print March 1st, 2012, but he continues to sell this through 2013. He applies to do Comiket again in 2013, but because he didn't have a finished volume 5 for reasons that we're about to get into, they denied him a booth.
Oh, wow.
But he did still sell his. There was a magazine called Super DB, I believe, that he did some additional pages for, and those were also in what you guys read. But he did pages for that, and then that booth would continue to sell his books.
Oh, but because he didn't have a new volume out, they were like, sorry, kid, you need new material.
Yeah, his reason on his blog is that the best he had was like, I forget exactly how it words it, but an unfinished, makeshift volume 5.
Just like the drafts.
All that he would have, and which is the drafts varying finished quality. Doug, did you read through?
I did, yeah.
I'll
take a look at that. Where like there's like a shot of Goku just really well drawn, but then the pages before and after are just like doodles.
Yeah, just pencil.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see it that way. Just to see Toyotarou's process and just to see exactly how little work he puts into his anatomy. Anyways.
I wanted to say, since we're bringing up the pencil drafts right now, I really like how his stuff looks as pencil drafts versus finished line art.
Yeah.
I can't explain why. I just enjoy it
Same.
more.
As I was skimming through it, like the fight scenes looked a lot more like dynamic and a lot like just more fun to flip through than the final stuff in the few volumes. Yeah.
I think maybe it's just the illusion of shading, because now we have, a harder pencil line for where the finish line is going to go when he does his inks. So maybe that's what it is. But I don't know. I really like them, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
So the reason he wasn't able to finish that volume 5, or that we can surmise this is the reason, is that in 2012 he was recruited by Shueisha to work on the Dragon Ball Heroes Victory Mission manga.
Wow.
Which I think was just like a couple pages each month. It wasn't very long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but still,
thinking back to it, I never read it, but I remember hearing about it happening.
Then it got picked up
very
in an official way. That's awesome.
Of course, so on January 1st, 2014, he released the remainder of Dragon Ball AF Online, including the makeshift Volume 5, which was never completed. January, I already said that, 2015. So in 2015, he starts working on the Resurrection F manga. So he's no longer on Heroes, and he switches over to do the RF manga, which only lasts like 3 chapters, doesn't even finish the movie, and is like a huge sore sticking point in trying to recommend someone read Super. Doug, close your ears for this. It's hard to recommend someone read Super when they skip over an entire arc.
Yeah. This is just put into
Doug, I said close your ears.
This is just put into one of those thick Japanese Saikyo jumps or something like that, or the Super manga didn't exist yet, did it? In an official capacity?
No, not yet.
No, but the Resurrection F manga portion did.
Yeah, because wasn't it? I believe it's kind of like a prequel-ish, is that it shows some more information leading up to the start of the film and then incorporates stuff from the movie, or am I remembering incorrectly?
There's prequel stuff in Super, so that might be what you're conflating.
No, I'm thinking maybe
I'm not sure.
Training stuff, or maybe that's just a young GG fan art I'm remembering. That's completely different.
Full disclosure, I read the RF manga as it came out, and then I have not touched it since.
Likewise. That's why my memory is a bit fuzzy there.
Yeah.
So after those 3 chapters, he went straight into Dragon Ball Super, and he has been doing that ever since, in addition to some character designs, of course, that he did for the Tournament of Power, alongside Toriyama Sensei.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Man, that's like a dream come true, but also a nightmare come to realization when you incorporate fans in that aspect, always getting heckled by fans.
Right. Going from, drawing and writing a doujinshi to getting to be kind of like the new face of the franchise. Because here you are, you're putting out books titled the same as the anime.
Yeah.
You're getting to work alongside the original creator. I mean, that has just mind-boggling to be in sort of that situation. And do you ever wonder if they ever talk about it? So how did you do that whole AF stuff? How did that affect thing? Or is it just don't talk about it? I don't want to bring it up to this guy. I don't need him to know.
Well, we know so little about how, I feel like Toriyama has to be aware of AF at some level. He has to have known it exists. The people at Shueisha have to have known. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure that was part of the recruitment process.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless there was some other weird application. There's an Italian interview with Toyotarou in which he gives a different recounting of events, but those don't really line up with everything else that we know.
Really?
So it's just safer to assume that the story of him being recruited is most likely what played out.
I imagine it's just hey, we love your skills in this AF thing you did, but that's in your past. We're not going to talk about that anymore. Your future is now the official source. Let's just try and keep everything towards that direction. And that's probably how.
And that's actually been one of the most frustrating things in trying to research the story of AF and the story of Toyotaro's AF is that we're going back to 1999 to tell the story. We're going through shambles of websites that only exist in Wayback Machine. We're going through forums, looking at posts from 2004, seeing what people's impressions were back then. Luckily Mike has already done a lot of this groundwork and I was able to kind of pick from there, but I was going through the actual blog and Google translated my way through it to find out what Toyble at the time was saying and his own ideas. And
when the internet was relatively new to the world, it's still in an infancy. It's not just.
I think we were still Web 1.0 or whatever.
Yeah. So
call it
going back 10 years ago, that doesn't seem that hard. 10 years ago, people were still archiving and the internet's stable, but just 20 years ago, it's still kind of the Wild West of the internet where anything goes.
A lot of people say, once it's on the internet, it's forever. That's not true. Websites go down, blogs get updated, and then we're just gonna, or forums and things are just gonna get trashed. No, it's not there forever. It might be somewhere, but you're gonna go through a sea of broken links or other such things, or using the Wayback Machine, and it's taking forever to.
Michael Labrie to archive all that shit for us.
Right.
For
Big
the most
thanks
part.
to Mike, Vegito EX, runner of Kanzenshu, and everybody else on the Kanzenshu team for, keeping all this stuff available for us to go through and check. So that's kind of the meta of it, right? And then I'm thinking at the end of the volume, didn't he say like, oh, I'm always going to be thinking about this and I'm going to write it. It might not be now, but I will finish it. So it's kind of like, well, I guess we'll get more AF at some point, unless, something bad happens, obviously. But
some could say AF is out now on store shelves.
That's true. There are a lot of AF DNA things in other portions of Dragon Ball.
AF to the AF. I get you.
Every time I hear AF, all I can think about is that one post office
Mailbox.
box. I think it's in the trunk special.
Yeah.
AF
Same.
mail.
I think that too.
Yeah. So the story here, we've talked about the meta of how this whole thing came about. What is the story of the actual book? Like, what is happening in this? I know I wrote some supplemental things here that just real quick going through. This takes place post GT because that's the last thing that we had.
Yeah.
This
Very
whole thing
interesting
came
take
about.
to do that too.
Well, I mean, nobody had really done anything about this is in between Boo and the last Budokai or anything.
At that point in the world, it just made sense this is where the story finished. Let's continue after that.
Yeah,
Right.
There was no Super and Shin and Kibito splitting apart to complicate the existence of GT.
And just you can't deny how fun it must have been to draw Super Saiyan 4 characters.
Man, they always look good, no matter what. That's the one thing I miss. Like, we need to move forward and get back to using 4. I know that it's in Xenoverse and
well, there's one thing I'm
Super
confused
Dragon Ball
about in the
Heroes.
story. So once we get to that point, like if you guys do want to go ahead and jot down the bullet points so we can talk about it more.
Sure. I took some notes as well while I was reading through it. And how exactly do we want to go about this? Do we want to go blow for blow, what happens in the story, and then our thoughts about it? How do you want to handle this?
No, just like general.
I think it's such a thin story.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there a
That's
story?
true. I think so. I think by definition there is a story here.
Is there a good story?
You read
There's
it.
a serviceable story.
There
that
is.
could have been great if it ever finished.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess broad strokes here. It's post GT. Goku obviously not around anymore.
So we should talk about what happened to Goku.
Yeah, because we get an actual explanation
yeah.
versus the very nebulous ending
This
of GT.
is
That's
also why I think things left as a mystery are the way to go. This is one of the reasons.
So Goku has moved on to an actual place called the Dragon Realm, or is it the Ryoshin? Is that
That's what they say, yeah.
Ryoshinkai.
Ryoshin Kai. There we go. Which is a place even further beyond the realm of the Kaioshin.
Of course.
Well, I mean,
there?
Doug, what's Super doing? Come on.
That's why I don't read Super either, Ken.
Look, this is all a story for 9-year-old Japanese boys. It's okay that it's stupid and ridiculous.
I'm a
It's
9-year-old
fine. It doesn't-
Japanese boy at heart, so that's...
Exactly. So he's there. He's hanging around with Paikuhan and the dragons, all of them. Even Purunga's there.
Yes.
This is where they live now.
So they all
and
exist
That's where they've always been.
at all times. It's just... They basically where all the Naruto summons are. They're hanging out in the same place with the toad and the slug and the snake. They're all just hanging out. And then they're just summoned via
I fail to
rivals.
see the problem. This rules. I loved it.
Yeah,
I love the idea. I love Purunga just hanging out. It's so good.
Ew, with arms and legs. Ugh.
The arms and legs is gross.
Is that
I mean,
what
he
it
had
is?
arms.
Something was off at the pupils. It's so weird.
But the story here actually kind of starts with a flashback of like, okay, well, let's set some stuff up. After the defeat of Frieza, we find out that Frieza has a mom, quote unquote mother.
When
and
he
that it's
says Papa, Mama, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Is this supposed to be his mother?
I mean, eventually we kind of get an explanation of the whole mother-father thing because West Kaioshin is like, hey, Frieza got defeated and I have no place for weakness. I want to have the strongest person in the universe. So, of course, gonna go to Goku and then flash forward.
Ginyu mentality.
She's got a new son named Xicor, and they're gonna go to Earth and they're gonna fuck some shit up.
Well, she's really messed up in the head because she was assumed dead after the Boo incident.
Right.
And
Well,
then
she's
she
the
like
West
floated
Kaioshin. We
around
didn't
for
say that,
millions
did
of years.
She's the
Yeah.
West Kaioshin.
Right.
I think, yeah. She floats around dead for millions of years.
Millions!
And then is like, hey, yeah. And she's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to take the universe over.
That's my motivation now. I floated in space for too long, and now
Oh
I
my
just
God.
want to take it over.
I've had time to think about it.
I put a note here because now we are back with our regular cast on Earth. That for where the story goes, again, story quote unquote. We're introduced to our main character, kind of sort of thing, is Goten in college, which I think is strange. That doesn't stick around. Like
it doesn't. I'd like the idea though. That was kind of cool.
And that Gohan is professor now at Orange Star University. I think that tracks for Gohan.
Yeah.
You always wanted to be a scholar. It makes sense to me.
Everyone feels so in character.
Yeah.
They do.
In the beginning part, yeah.
I like the school setting. I wish that someone would call him Geeko. It would make it feel better to me. More in line with how I want.
Don't give
Dragon Ball
Toyble
characters to be
that. It's like he created Geeko.
And also, Goten is Great Saiyan Man now. He's taken up the mantle, which is cool. Although nobody really cares about him. He's like the 100th most impressive hero there is.
Yeah.
And what a list, too.
Captain
All those
Chicken.
references. Yeah. Tons of different Toriyama works in there.
Yeah.
Just, Doug, if you ever read Super, this is the kind of thing that Toyotaro excels at.
He loves the fan service.
References and the little things. Yeah, he is like, if he is any fan who suddenly got to make official Dragon Ball stuff.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, yeah.
And he loves it. Like, man, he's got a deep wealth of knowledge, and like he references just the tiniest things. It's like, oh yeah, that was a thing. Like, man, it's impressive. So Xicor shows up. I'm trying to remember. I just read this a few days ago. I'm like, so they're there, and like Earth is fine, and then Xicor and
he
Lila
fights.
showed up?
Lila. He fights Goten first
Right. Before Gohan joins the fray along with
Vegeta.
With Vegeta and Trunks.
Gohan can go Super Saiyan 4 now. Which just happens.
Just gotta admit, that
which
looks
is fine.
so cool.
It looks great.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really an explanation for it, but I think you can just kind of put two and two together of just like, well, he could turn into a monkey before.
They still have that Brutes Wave generator or amplifier or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't see Bulma dismantle it at the end of GT, so I assume it's still there.
Right?
At this point, it's when I realized the story's not going to start making any sense or be
Just
creative
roll with
at
it.
all.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take that better than half a volume explaining how Gohan got it, because I'm sure that's something that maybe someone would want to see.
Toyble knew, like, he just wanted to draw that form in Gohan and just to get to it. So, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So they all fight, and gosh, I'm trying to remember. Kaioshin eventually goes to join in the fight, brings along the Z sword.
But who did he leave behind on his way to go fight?
Oh, yeah, Tapion is there.
Yeah.
What
Right?
the hell? Did I miss something, or is that in GT? It's not anywhere.
No.
He's just there with no explanation. He's just training.
I think Toyotaro's idea here is that the movies are canon, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. But the Tapion
Even
is
though he's supposed
in line
to go
to be,
and like find his brother. Now it's just, well, I found him, and of course we went to go see.
So now I'm gonna be the
Why
I'm
wouldn't-
gonna be the god. I'm gonna train to be the god of the everywhere now, all at once.
Sure. Just roll with it.
Yeah, the implication is that he's training to become a Kaioshin, I guess.
Which means the only prerequisite is to have link ears. It's the only prerequisite to being a Kaioshin.
It's true. You've got to have those. Otherwise, I don't know, you'll get laughed at the Kaioshin parties.
Yeah, very prejudiced over there.
They're not going to let any greenies in, I'll tell you that much.
Well, so what
Don't let that become a thing.
No,
I'm
don't.
sorry I ever said it.
You had to. What's this guy's name? Scizor?
Sizor, you know, the
Scyther?
Pokemon.
Yeah, what's his name? Xicor. He's just like eviscerating everyone, basically, right?
He's crazy strong.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think he ever transforms, he just exists to be this powerful. I would assume a transformation would come eventually if we got
He
the
does
rest.
in the drafts
Okay.
for
Gotcha.
Volume 5.
Gotcha. I guess I skimmed it a little too quick and didn't notice that.
Yeah, no, it's just his
did
base
not read
form, and he's
the
just
Japanese.
It just feels like just dumb fight for fight. Like there's no plot. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's brutal because the guy just goes in for the kill all the time, which is impressive.
He blows up half of the earth, which makes you really think about the strength of everyone prior to this where like, yeah, everyone at this point should be able to just stick their hand out and blast half of the earth away, but they never really do they? It always feels very confined into like a dirt canyon. Like all the damage just stays there, but I don't know. Is this guy that crazy strong, or is everyone? It's just meant to be much more exciting to look at, I guess.
I like that, and I like the stakes of when they're fighting, and Gohan has got I think it's a Kamehameha. He's about to blast it down towards Earth, and Xicor is like, he wouldn't do that, he'll blow up the Earth, and he's like, he's doing it.
He's like, Gohan's like, we got Dragon Balls. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, no.
That's not what Gohan would do.
You would blow up the planet.
Yeah, in another way, it does kind of show that no one has learned their lessons about the negative energy in Dragon Balls.
Oh my god, yeah,
overusing them. But
you've got the Dragon Ball.
So eventually, they seal Xicor in the Zed Sword.
In the Zed Sword. But oh no!
Except
somehow Palpatine has returned. I mean, somehow the Z Sword, the seal didn't work, so it's only going to last for 1 month.
The sword is cracked, so yeah, it's only going to last a month, and so they've got to get
There's
their
no
shit
reason
together.
for it to be cracked. There's no good explanation for it. It's just up. It just somehow didn't take. We got a month. Time to train, guys. Freaking hate it.
See, I love it. It's just because it's so. He's not. Toyotarou is just like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I want to do. Let's do it, and he just goes for it.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
it doesn't make for a good story.
It's better than what I assume would be a random ass pull of like, oh, we're in this fight. Oh, somebody's going to have a new transformation all of a sudden, to give them time to be like, okay, well, where did they get this power from? Like, okay, well, let's give them a month.
But like, Toriyama somehow manages to do that, but just so seamlessly where you don't think about it. The closest thing I think of is the 3 years before the androids, the Jinzo Ningen show up, where it's like, well, he hasn't Jiro hasn't created them yet, so we shouldn't, go stop him now. Like, that's the only time it kind of sticks out. But other than that, this just seems so forced.
I mean, you've only got so much stuff. If you're a one-man thing, you're not getting real paid for this. You're not gonna, I don't know. I guess I'm more accepting
you like are.
Where the story is going.
No hold bars. I hated this story. It was just slog.
I'm sorry. I like that Vegeta is upset that he has to protect the Earth. Like, that Goku's not here and is like, no, I guess this is my job when nobody else is around. Even though Gohan's there, he's trying his best, man.
Gohan even proclaims himself the protector of the Earth or something like that, doesn't he? There's definitely someone says
he does, which is weird that he then is like, I hate doing this. But I guess now he's around other people, so he has to act cool.
Maybe.
That toxic cyanity, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it'll get you.
So now everyone's like, well, we got to get Goku because nobody can beat Xicor.
I'll beat him, Vegeta says.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it. I got this.
And I like that because in ways that we've talked about Vegeta before, they roll him back almost. This felt like a Vegeta being rolled back, but in a way moving forward because he's like, no, we don't have to keep getting Kakarot
Goku,
back for this. Like, we can Bio Broly this, guys. We don't need him.
Which I like. I was on his side the whole time of like, yeah, it's okay. Let him be and do his thing. We'll figure it out.
It seemed weird because before they sealed him in the sword, I thought the insinuation was that there was a plan that Gohan and Kaioshin had to seal him in. But then Vegeta just jumps in and ruins the plan by attacking him full force. Because it was like, oh, why did Kaioshin heal Gohan? And then Gohan just expend all his energy by using Vegeta's attack. That's Vegeta's attack to get him down to the ground for nothing. I thought there was a plan formulating there, but it wasn't a plan because then they just jumped him and fired blast at him.
No teamwork going on. They don't know how to work as a team yet. See, Doug,
this character.
If the story had kept going, we'd have an arc. There's no arc here because we're at the beginning of whatever arc could have happened.
It's just the roller coaster going up. I get you.
Yeah. Well, so this is where we find out, we get the definition of where Goku is.
Right.
And that he has basically become the vessel by which Shenlong exists.
Well, they say that he fuses with him.
Yeah. So the whole thing about Shenlong bringing Goku back from the dead at the end of GT, which I don't remember if that's actually described as what happens in GT or not, but let's go with it here. Is that Goku dies, Shenlong brings him back, but as penance for bringing him back, he's like, hey, the Dragon Balls don't exist anymore, so my model doesn't exist anymore, so you have to become my body, but that means that we can't stay here, we got to go back to the Dragon Realm.
Right.
And so this
That's
tingles my imagination in so many ways. I would love to see this in Super.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is that I think the Elder Kaioshin then like chimes in as like, yeah, it's foretold in destiny that if a Saiyan fuses with a dragon, that their power level grows 10 times or something like that. It was just very okay. We get it. Like it's just surface level. Doesn't feel creative at all to me.
I mean, I like the whole thing of, serving as his vessel sort of thing to get over there. It makes sense. His model's not around. He was kind of split up into these evil dragons. So like, okay, cool. Yeah. Shenlong as an entity is still around and we need a way to get there. But yeah, when we do get to the stuff of like, oh, Saiyans can do this or that was, putting their light into the Dragon Balls. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that why is a creation by the Namekians have a thing with the Saiyans, which are on totally opposite ends of the galaxy.
Well, they said it's one of the rare races, but it is still one of the races. That's what convenience I was talking about. It's like that's so stupid, and this is just one of the moments that it shows. It's remnants of like not remnants because it's Super. Like obviously this happens in Super to become Super Saiyan God.
Right.
Do that same thing, but there's so many things before this that are like, oh, this is just a repeat of what happened in Dragon Ball, the original run, and it's just lacks creativity, I feel like.
I would agree that it's a sloppy way to get to where the story goes.
Yes. I should have. I don't take notes as I'm opposite of Ken, where he takes a lot of notes. I take no notes, but there are so many moments that are just like this is just a bad retelling of the OG story. Like it's just so uncreative.
It's as annoying as the Namekian Book of Legends.
Yes, the Namekian
which
Book
also
of Legends.
had information about the science. So
if there was something. I'm not saying it has to be an anime. It doesn't have to be a movie. It doesn't, whatever. It could be a light novel for all I care. If there was like something, not even just for this, but like in general for the amount of times, like you said, the Namekian Book of Legends has things about science in it. If there was a time when like these two races crossed paths in the past versus
I think
just,
so. Yeah.
You think so? That's there, huh?
I think, especially after reading AF, knowing that that's something Toyotarou had in his idea, actually pre-Battle of Gods. And then we saw that again in Battle of Gods. I would not be surprised if we see that somewhere down the line. That'd be
interesting.
It's interesting, but for me, it just takes away from the original story because it just makes everything more convenient and just less... it just this is where the story went. No, it's like, no, this is predestined, basically.
Well, it's all whatever because it's just a vehicle to get to Broly.
Before we do that, I wanted to bring up the fact that like Piccolo is in hell and this poor guy does not get a break. Like it seems like his job down there is just to constantly be blasting Frieza and Cell and Janemba. Like, I'll talk to you, I'll call you again real quick. I just got to go murder this guy, and he's just going to come back in 5 minutes.
Does that mean like
but,
movie 12 is not canon then? Like they should be like just floating clouds, right? Or did the machine break for them and now they're in their bodies or whatever?
It's stuff like that. It's stuff like with the Daikaio being on the phone with the Elder Kaioshin and not knowing it, and then he finds out, he freaks out.
Cute.
There are all these little comedic beats that just show how in the mind of Toriyama Toyotarou is. That he just gets how to sell some of those comedic beats. Sometimes he falters. I mean, there was a lot of issues in the Granola arc that I don't think necessarily landed comedically, but he really understands where Toriyama was at when writing Dragon Ball.
I guess. I just don't think he nails it. Like when Kaioshin sacrifices himself and then just shows up again, I was like, that could have been... I don't know. I didn't laugh. I was just like, ugh.
I mean, that's just how it goes. That's what happened with the old guy. It's like, I'm going to sacrifice my life, Goku, so you can be alive.
It
and
makes
then
sense.
He lays down. It's like, he's dead.
It makes
All
sense.
Right, now get out
story-wise.
there.
I just didn't like it. It just it didn't feel like an earned laugh, and it was going for a laugh.
This is not comedy specific, but there was one thing that I wanted to point out, and that's when they're kind of formulating this plan to get Goku and the Dragon Balls back and everything. They are going to use the Namekian Dragon Balls and Purunga to pull this thing off, and they explicitly say the new Purunga, because they've upgraded him, has no death time limit. Now, I don't remember what the specific rules are for Purunga, but I know for the longest time, the kind of consensus amongst fans was that, well, Shenlong can't wish anybody back if they've been dead for longer than a year. And then it's like people, I think in general, looked closer at the wording of that and were like, that's not what that says. You can't bring back a large amount of people if they've been dead for longer than a year. You could choose an individual who's been dead for 40 years and be like, yeah, you're back. But for Purunga, I don't remember what the exact rules are. And I'm wondering, is this a weird fan misconception that got turned into a plot point? Ken, do you remember anything about Purunga's rules?
No, they don't ever go into it with Purunga that way, because I know that what you're thinking about with Shenlong is that conversation between Kami and Kaio. I think
that's where that whole thing comes from. Yeah,
but it's probably just been assumed that misconception was also just passed on to Purunga,
but also
which is interesting.
They never mentioned the rules for Purunga because he's supposed to be looked at as he's just almost limitless. Like the weaknesses that Shenlong had, this guy's the OG. He's got no limits.
Yeah.
Well, they do specify in Namek that he can't bring multiple people back at once.
Right.
Because that's a plot point in Boo when they're like, we upgraded Purunga.
Right. Which made sense in their world because we never really had to do that before, so we didn't think to make that unlimited.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we didn't have people showing up, blowing up everyone every day.
Well,
we had this famine and we got through it.
Yeah.
That's why it would have been helpful to have that ability to bring back lots of people. Like, hey, we just had a whole bunch of people die in the famine. Bring them back.
As far as the rules go, I don't. That's one of the things that didn't bother me because it's like, they just upgrade the dragon, whatever. That's to whatever they want. It's fine. It doesn't really bother me.
Which apparently is just giving it a shower, as we learned from Superhero. All you got to do is get it wet and be like, well, he's upgraded now.
What?
You know what I mean? Remember?
What are you talking about?
Don't you remember in Superhero when Piccolo goes to go get his wish thing with Dende, and then he's like, hold on, let me do that, and then just pours water. It's like, there, he's ready to go. Like, what?
I need to rewatch Superhero. Jesus. I thought you were talking about like some
Doug's going to come back. Movie sucks.
Everything's just so convenient.
Where's the movie 6?
You can't hold a grudge about that forever. We'll come back.
We got to rewatch movie 6. I don't see how the movie is redeemable in any way except for the visuals.
I like your idea of sitting there and watching it and pausing it every couple of minutes for you to be like, okay, here's why this is good.
Moment's amazing and you don't get it. I would love that.
That would be good. I hope you don't mind. I'm just kind of bouncing around in my notes here since we're kind of at the end of that. I find it odd, understandable, but odd that the army is reporting to Mr. Satan. It's like, we got to evacuate these people, do this thing. Like, Satan, we've done this. Like, what? You're not in charge of
It's like the army reporting to The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Like, what do we do now, sir?
Well, Mr. Satan is still the guy who saved everyone from Cell, and he's the guy who saved everyone from something. Because no one can remember Boo. And then I don't remember how involved he was in GT.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Because everyone remembers Baby. That never got wished away.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know who that landed on.
I mean, you save the world once. I think you get a pass. The world loves you, you know?
But for the army to come and be like, listen, we're taking orders from you now.
The world's run by a dog, so I don't blame
Commander-in-Chief Satan.
Commander-in-Chief Satan.
We trust in Satan.
That would be good. They have that month to train, and Dr. Briefs makes a better room of spirit and time than Kami ever did.
Oh my god.
Like, there's no time limit that you can only be in there for 2 years, and then it's no more. Like, but Vegeta's in there for 5 years.
5 years, just whatever he needs.
There is a running kind of theme throughout Dragon Ball that the gods are inept. They don't know what they're doing.
Right,
and so the idea that Brief is just like, hey, I'll do it.
That's funny
with science.
Yeah,
that fits in line.
Hey, you're convincing me now, Ken. Maybe we should watch movie 6 again, and you can point these things out.
Yeah,
like that.
Dude, there's a lot of science in movie 6. We'll talk about it all day.
There's robots, man. That's science.
So they need 7 Super Saiyans, to recharge the light in these Dragon Balls. So they got Vegeta, Gohan, Goten,
Trunks.
So that's 4 Super Saiyans, and then Pan and Bra are like, we can go Super Saiyan too. So there you go. There's 6.
I was very split on how cool that moment looked, just visually, because it looked really cool how like Pan and Bra like stood up like, well, I guess time to show you guys. But then the next panel, the transformation itself didn't look as cool. But I don't know. I still like them getting up and she's like, all right, let's show them, and then they transform. It's still cool.
It is cool. I also like them training in the month in between, like together, doing their whole sparring thing.
Yeah, like, Mr. Satan overseeing it.
Yeah, like he could really make a call there. But
I was so
good.
This is how checked out I was during this part of the story, where it's just like I'm just like, oh, they're missing one. Why don't they just use the Dragon Balls to wish Goku back? Like that's how checked out of the story I was.
But I love they have this arbitrary number. I guess 7's not that arbitrary.
I was also thinking that, but
it's
it makes
sense.
It's the number of Dragon Balls. Because the balls, yeah.
So they're like, well, let's wish Broly back. And the reader's like, hold on. Broly can't fit for this reason, that reason, this reason, that reason. But don't worry about
Toyble
it.
Says, fuck you, I'm doing it. This is my end game.
Yeah. So no one can leave Dragon Realm except Paikuhan for some reason.
Yeah, they
And it's not
Unknown
really
why.
explained how he got there either.
Yeah.
Nope.
Because Kaioshin's like, I can't go there, but this random dude
Can
can.
just phase
I guess
through dimension.
his cool hat lets him
Paikuhan
in.
is a secret dragon undercover. That's why he doesn't have a
Ooh.
nose.
See, the story didn't get far enough to reveal
Right. That was going to be the twist
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah, so Paikuhan shows up when Broly wakes up and is about to rampage and everything, and then Paikuhan's just like, no, dude, I'm gonna train you. Check this out. I'm untouchable. Come at me, bro. And then Broly fights him, and Broly's like, eventually wears himself out, and he's like, is Kakarot, and I don't know if he calls him Kakarot or Goku,
Kakarot.
but he's like, is he even stronger? And Paikuhan's like, dude, you have no idea. Check this out. Super Saiyan 5.
I love the whole thing anytime when a villain shows back up and it's been so long. Like, dude, you are super outclassed at this point. Like, we've had 2-3 arcs and like...
I gotta admit, yep, as much as I don't care for much of Broly in that state, like, it was kind of cool to have him back. That did give me a little like, oh, cool, okay.
It was refreshing to read this Broly, who's not the Broly that is the canon Broly.
the Super Broly.
And is just a totally different character because he's like a psychopath in movie 8.
Yes.
Right.
And to get that character back, but then forcibly toned down by getting his ass handed to him repeatedly.
Yeah.
That is a good dynamic. I do like that. Even though when I saw him, I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, wait, this isn't Super Broly. I don't like this guy as much.
But no, I kind of liked it, but I felt like his berserkness didn't match his movie 8 energy, where he just kind of... He did just kind of like slow down and like he thought things through, whereas the Broly in movie 8 was just berserk. Like he just would rampage.
Well, he didn't have somebody like Goku or somebody that looked like Goku there to spark that total fury.
Yeah, he just thought about him. He was like, Kakarot, and Paikuhan's like, your memories are coming back, or something stupid like that. And
yeah, I don't understand why he was like, your memories are coming back. Like, is that a thing?
Also,
when
I don't
you die,
like-
you don't remember?
I don't know if it's the translation, but I just don't like how everyone talks so medieval and proper, and it just doesn't feel like how they would talk. Do you know what I mean? Your memories have resurfaced.
To me, it's like, so you know how like when you're really worried about something and then you go to bed and in the morning you have like a minute before you remember what you were worried about the night before?
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of state Broly was in, being wished back. It was like that really momentary piece of
Death.
That momentary piece before the anxiety just drives back
Rushes
in and you have to drive to work. And yeah.
I can see
That's
that.
true.
I
That
can see
makes sense. But so Broly gets some humble pie, and it's kind of this whole thing of trying to get him to join to their side because they're going to need him to get the Dragon Balls going and get Kakarot back.
Right. And then I immediately think, how old is Broly supposed to be? Why is it obvious that Bra is going to be a love interest to him right now? That was weird. Did you guys see that?
Wait, what? What manga were you reading?
Because she brings him
I don't
like his
remember
food or
that.
whatever.
Oh, okay.
Walks in
that,
and
yeah.
like this, like she's looking 25 all of a sudden, 25 years old with like a sweater on and falling to the ground, showing her skirt and everything. And
Well, that's always kind of been an issue with GT.
yeah, it's
That
pretty
Bra
bad.
is 9 in GT.
But it was an obvious like,
Eight
why
or
is
9.
Bra bringing him food? And it's just, I don't know. It seems
She's 8 in GT.
yes.
Yeah, that's doesn't make
So
any
the-
sense.
That's just always been an issue. So just don't think
That's
about
GT's problem.
And that's
not
going to be the twist
AF's
at the end.
problem.
We just didn't get there yet. We're still in the beginning of the arc.
that. Yeah, we're
So-
still, we missed the whole part where Whis came in and aged everyone
Right,
up. and then
right.
Yeeted
Well,
out of there.
If Vegeta wanted to spend 5 years in Brief's special room, why couldn't Bra? And now she is.
Oh my God, you know it's going to be a
appropriate age.
thing. That is what it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And my
But unfortunately-
my theory I just thought about now is that Paikuhan is going to become the new Shenlong's vessel so that Goku can stay on Earth. Because we don't care about Paikuhan. He can stay up there in the realm or whatever.
Well, once the Dragon Balls are back, he doesn't need something like that, I would assume.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? But what were you going to say, Ken?
Well, before anything else can happen, AFNs. It's over.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, as quickly as it came.
We get the drafts with Volume 5, where Xicor has now come out of the Zed Sword, and a month has passed, and everyone's fighting him. And Vegeta's doing this really cool thing where he's swapping in and out of Super Saiyan forms.
Yeah, I thought
as
I was
needed.
skipping pages. I'm like, did I read this in the right order? Because I was just like, wait, he's going back and... Yeah. At one point I
Yeah,
thought he combined the two. Was that true or no?
Well, there's a part where Kuririn is talking to Trunks about different Super Saiyan forms, and Trunks is like, here's this flow chart of
love
which
that
form
flow
goes to
chart.
which form. Yeah.
I didn't understand the Super Saiyan 3 flowchart though, because it was like Super Saiyan and then Super Saiyan 3 and then Super Saiyan 3 again, but with bolder lines.
Yeah, we should specify for people that the version that we read a translation of the first 4 volumes, but the 5th volume I did not have translated. So it's just
because it's just
we
drafts.
Looked through the drafts in Japanese, and I'm like, oh, I can recognize a few of these words in here, but beyond that, it's just kind of sketchy.
Yeah,
right. Literally.
Yeah, but Toyotaro's action is such that you can figure out what's going on, and they eventually do wish Goku back. Goku shows up, and then that's where that ends. So, still, we haven't gotten any further story wise.
Yeah,
we didn't get to see anything of Super Saiyan 5 or whatever that form is going to be, other than one quick flash when he is fighting Paikuhan. Like, you gotta stop transforming.
Which I like that reveal actually at the very beginning when you first see Goku and he's just like he's got eyebrows but also the long hair, but it's just like for one panel, so it's like, oh cool, what is that? Like that's a great way to subtly introduce something like that.
Yeah, agreed. It's a nice reveal to know that there's something there, but you don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
There's also the alternate ending where it's Roshi and he's telling the story to future
Goku Jr.
Yeah, Goku Jr., Vegeta Jr.
Hated this.
I like that. Yeah. I like that he's still around then.
Yeah. You know? And he's like, hold on, let me get my Roshi voice out.
Okay, let's hear it.
I never took that drink and I'm still around. That's my
really great.
Mike
That's
McFarlane
fantastic.
Roshi patent pending.
Can you give me Ocean dub Roshi, please?
Oh, dang. All right. Well, I was about to do Roshi with the Canadian accent, but then it couldn't come out. So
that's fine. I just wanted
Close
it for
enough.
myself. But
I Goku,
like... Just gonna throw in a
Goku, buddy.
Yeah.
Goku guy.
I just liked him being there. I don't know. It's nice to have another person from all the way back still kind of having an effect nowadays. Like Pan is there, but like she was the end of Z thing, hadn't been there since the beginning of everything. Like
I didn't
Roshi
like
had
the whole congratulations scene at the end with everyone laughing,
clapping and
clapping. You did great.
Too heartfelt. Too much like episode 26 of Ava, Doug.
It didn't feel earned. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel earned. It's just he did the best he could. I'm just saying that Toriyama is a genius when you go back and read the original stuff. How stuff just feels natural. That's just good storytelling. Toyotarou.
Well, I would say that, this alternate ending is very not natural. It's very kind of like a left turn, I've got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Kind of way.
It was kind of nice, though. That's the way he chose to do it, where it's like, well, we're going to stop the story here, boys. I'm getting kind of old. And then he just... Was it a commentary on Toriyama at some points there, too, with Roshi? Like, you're old and senile? I don't know.
I mean, I will say there was that one... I read it, and gosh, what was that at the... a postscript or something saying that he had Togashi disease, which is like, yikes, that's not a nice thing to say for this man who's suffering from chronic back pain. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm too lazy and stuff and can't do this. Like,
man. Togashi is also known for being like easily distracted.
That's true, but at this point, like, Hunter x Hunter was already like being on hiatus here and there, I assume, because of back pain issues. Or am I wrong?
Was it widely known back in 2012 that that was the case?
I thought, but maybe my memory is bad.
Yeah, this isn't We Gotta Hunt. I don't know anything about Hunter x Hunter. So
I doubt it's relatable. If it is, it's probably just like a more common saying than we think.
Fair. But still, in 2023, reading them like, oh, yikes. I don't like that. That's rough. Poor guy. That's kind of the end of my notes there. What did we think, Doug? I know that you are not a fan of the convenience of everything.
I wouldn't say
the whole experience. What did you think?
I have said it a lot that I hate it, but I wouldn't. Now that I'm calm, I don't hate it. I just don't like it a lot. I wouldn't.
That's okay.
I wouldn't read it again. It just seems like a fan, which what it is, it's a fan that made their own fan thing and they did their best, but it just doesn't have a story that's compelling. It's just fights for fights. It's all the stuff you see that everyone wants when they see like fan animations of just like fight scenes. That's not why I love Dragon Ball. I don't love it for the fight scenes. I love it for the story and the characters. And we didn't get much character in this.
That's true. But then I'll pose this question. If next month Toyotarou was like, what's up, guys? Chapter 5. Here it is. It's done. Are you going to pick it up and read it? Or are you going to say,
I'm going to say, I'm passing. If I'm not going to read Super for you, Randy, I'm not going to keep reading AF.
That's fair. We still need to get you 4 more pages.
Yeah, Ken, where are those 4 pages? Did I miss? Did I miss?
You haven't thumbs up emoji.
I must have missed
that
it.
you read them.
We need a separate page for you posting because it gets lost in the sauce. And I just, but I'll go back now and check.
DBS chapter 001. You'll find it. I label the posts so you can find them, Doug.
We already gave him homework. I don't want to.
For those of you that don't remember, Ken is sending me 4 pages of Super a day so that I'll read them. And I think it's been a week since
He has to let me know that he's read them first.
Right.
By
I give him a thumbs up.
emoji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you guys start talking about Star Trek or something, and I lose track of it all.
Ken, your thoughts. Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. I am very forgiving of it, keeping in mind that what we've read is something shy of 250 pages, which is just a little bit over 1 normal-sized volume of manga. So to say that there's no story, I agree. But we also don't have a lot of room in which to have told the story yet. This feels like the first 2/3 of a movie that could have been great.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a first draft. I mean, like, you don't have an editor going through and being like, okay, this works, this doesn't. It's just kind of one dude who's just giving it his best try as a solo act. So.
And he has a lot of say in the Super manga now, right?
Yes.
So I
does
feel,
he?
I
I thought it was very nebulous on who's writing what and who's providing what, other than character design.
I'm sure he has some input, I guess, but like that just shows that this is a great like first draft for anyone, and then to just become better, to fine tune their craft basically. So nothing against Toyotarou, but it's just we're just looking at a first draft thing, What do you think about it, Randy?
What do I think? I enjoyed my experience reading it. I think I was able to just roll with whatever was happening. Like, okay, yeah, I accept that. That's fine. Or combination of that / it's been 13 years since I last watched GT and I don't really recall too much. So sure, that's probably what happened. I don't really remember.
Those little hamster guys. It's like, who are these hamster guys with the Kaioshins? Like, oh yeah, they pulled. It looks so weird seeing adults with tails, doesn't it?
I mean, Vegeta always had one back in the day, but he was tiny, so I guess that doesn't really count.
Seeing a tall, muscular Gohan shirtless with a tail was really off-putting to me. I don't know why.
Doug,
no, that does it for you.
Excited during recording.
It gets me the other way.
I think aside from Vegeta, I think the last Saiyan, adult Saiyan with a tail, is Broly at the beginning of movie 11.
No, but they always have it wrapped around their bodies. But this one is just like out dangling. It just looks so weird out there.
I mean, GT, Goku and Vegeta had theirs when they were transformed. So
right. But they were transformed. I'm saying a regular human with shirts off. Okay. Yeah. Just the regular human, but a tail. That's what. That's
describe that a little more, Doug.
What?
Very muscle defining 8-packs with 17's neck. Fully forward.
Oh yeah, dude.
It was very funny. I think I had posted that. I'm like, still couldn't do necks back then either.
As someone who's had spinal surgery up near my neck, no, dude, it's hard. It's hard with Toyotarou sometimes.
Right.
It's very traumatic for me to read through.
Oh no. That was the real pain.
We have some more here that you wrote, Ken. The super connection, which we've touched on some things here and there, but pointing out things like Lila and Xicor having a similar sort of relationship, like Zamasu and Goku Black, right?
Yeah, so that was there. When you read this, the connections are unmistakable.
Yes.
So some of these this one specifically is something that Ian Cipher on Twitter, and he's also on the Kanzenshuu podcast, he pointed out. And then I was kind of thinking, I'm like, well, let me start jotting down a lot of these other ones. So he also pointed out Saiyaman Goten, which is something that happens in Super, Doug.
Yeah.
In the superhero
that
prequel.
cover. I was thinking when I saw it in this story, like, that's so stupid. But then I'm like thinking about Goten in his own outfit in Super, and I was like, that looks pretty cool. I like that. They're just kids having fun.
And in those 3 prequel chapters, as I was reading them, I was like, this feels like AF meets Dr. Slump.
Yeah, thinking about it now, because I had not read AF prior to... Well, I had read the first chapter and some of chapter 2 prior to this. But yeah, if I had read that, I would have also hopefully have made that connection.
There is, we already talked a little bit about the Super Saiyan God ceremony being almost exactly. Even as far as describing pouring your light into something.
Yeah.
And not just your ki. There is the sealing technique, the Kaikai Shinfuba, which if you think about the Mafuba, So instead of, this is like the divine sealing wave.
That's the
instead of
one I was
demon
thinking of.
sealing
I'm thinking
wave.
this is so stupid because it's just the exact same thing. But then I'm thinking, well, like any other form of like technique, you would do the same hand movements, I guess. If you're doing ki blast, your hands out, stretched out with your palm faced out. So I guess this is a sealing technique. So sealing techniques kind of always look the same with the same, like capture them in a beam and then drag them to an item. You know what I mean?
Well, Doug, the reason I bring this up is that there is almost the exact same technique used in Super against Moro,
Oh, really?
in which it is called Kai Kai Matoru.
Oh my god. See,
So we went from Kai Kai Shinfuba to Kai Kai Matoru.
See, now I'm interested to see how natural it's brought up then, because I don't like how even the Mafuba was brought back in Super. It just seems out of left field for that.
Fair.
The manga here addresses Shin being Shin's real name, which is something we had only ever known as kind of it being a guise, unless there's a guidebook thing that covered it otherwise.
Right, because the only thing I can think of, like you'd brought up in the story, is when he goes to the tournament and he enters as Shin rather than, Kaioshin.
Because I'm working from vague Super anime memories again, but I feel like that was a big deal. It caused a lot of fervor when he was called Shin at some point, or like in the Tournament of Power. Remember how they had like all the gods listed on the Tournament of Power website before we got to that arc?
I don't recall. I'll have to look into it. I actually restarted watching Super the other day.
Wow.
I just got to the point where Goku is turned into a Super Saiyan god, but
Ian did that too. What's up with you guys? Don't get me on this train. I'm not rewatching Super. I will reread it with Doug. If we get to that point, I'm not rewatching
Not rewatching now.
you guys are no fun.
AF also has Dragon Ball lore existing beyond the Namekians.
Right.
So in Super, it's all about the Zalama guy who created Super Shenlong, and then the Super Dragon Balls, and the Namekians like carved off a piece of one of the Super Dragon Balls, and that's how they had the Namekian Dragon Balls. But something about like Dragon Balls existing just beyond the Namekians, and in AF you've got the whole Dragon Realm,
Right.
And that the Dragon Balls are just a way to call forth beings from the Dragon Realm to the mortal realm. We also have Broly's return. I mean, this is the most obvious one.
Right,
Broly came back in AF. Broly came back in Super. We have the whole thing about switching Super Saiyan forms mid-battle, which is something that happens
In
I
Super
don't remember
manga.
if it happens in the anime.
No, just the manga.
But it does happen in the Super manga, in the Tournament of Power.
I haven't read it, but just
And I
through
wanna say-
osmosis, I know.
Yeah, I want to say it happens maybe with Granola. It's been...
Maybe. It happens to Zamasu in Goku Black. That's when it happens, because they start talking about... Vegeta, I think, talks about how it's more proficient to use one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. I know more about the
isn't it
Super
also
manga than Ken does, and I haven't read the damn thing.
Isn't it also a Moro thing where he's absorbing their powers, and so that
they're
having-
losing the ability to
True.
have their higher forms, yeah.
True.
And then in the flow chart that Trunks presents, he pulls it out and he presents it for Kuririn that has a Super Saiyan 4 Max listed on there. In Heroes, we have Super Saiyan 4 Full Power Limit Breaker.
With her red hair.
Which is like
Yeah, there's a figure of that.
Yeah, and there was technically Super Saiyan 4 Full Power in GT, but it's like, I think just something Goku says, and
Right, 'cause
maybe
that's
not
just-
necessarily a new form.
Yeah, because there's no visual change. It's just when everybody like pours their key into him. It's like, now I'm at full power. or
Yeah,
whatever.
I'm at full power. New form, no, just full power. We don't have to, not capital F, capital P.
My glass
just
is just full.
full power. Yeah. But then we have a limit breaker in Heroes, and so a lot of the ideas in AF, and I'm sure, Ian, who's much more of a Toyotarou scholar, let's call him, he'll be able to poke out even more things from there. But a lot of the DNA of AF is in Super.
It is very interesting how that is. Yeah, if you read this, you do recognize a lot of stuff that eventually comes to fruition in official ways.
Yeah.
I want the Dragon Realm so bad in Super.
Give it
I
time.
want it probably more than
So
anything
did they
else
just get like
in AF.
when they get summoned? They're like, "Oh shit, guys, it's happening! I gotta go!" Like we see Purunga. We don't see Purunga. We just see a flashing light. But what if someone's just talking to Purunga at that time and then he gets summoned out? Does he just like get blown away?
Purunga has such personality in the manga, and then in the movies and in Super, Shenlong has a lot of personality. So like, there's the moment in movie 12 right at the end where he's like, "You guys gonna make a wish or what?"
Yeah.
And then in in movie 13 where he freaks out over Beerus and leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there's another thing in the anime where like the episode where Pan is sick and everyone's fighting to make a wish. I think there's another great like Shenlong moment there. But there's so much personality are given to these dragons that you expect they're somewhere else.
Right. But they're not just sleeping the whole time.
Yeah.
No, I like that aspect that they're sleeping or just non-existent or something like that.
I want that painting, like the 5 dogs playing poker,
But
but like different, the dragons, yeah.
That would be great. I would love to commission somebody to do that. It's not going to be me, but I want somebody to do it. Not
All right, Doug, it's on you.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to draw it. Yeah, we'll see that.
Yeah.
I would pay money to see that. But I think we want to leave it there, take a quick break, and then we've got some extra stuff for this episode for you after the break. So we'll be right back.
Hope it's not trivia.
Okay, we're back, and while I didn't put out a tweet asking for people's thoughts about this, because this is going to be a surprise, it's April Fool's, hey, look, we got an extra thing here for you. Ken was a ninja, and he put out a secret tweet. I don't know, it's not secret. It went out to everybody.
A secret tweet. You got to pay
Twitter is a public forum.
$8 to see Ken's tweet now.
Twitter is a public forum. And you did a sweet-ass drawing of Xicor. I assume.
Yeah, I got my butt tickled, and I was like, I got to draw some AF fan art.
And I saw that. I'm like,
Toonami font.
I saw that, Ken. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to read AF by today.
Yeah, I tweeted out, God help me, I'm going to draw some AF fan art.
Everyone is like, why, Ken? Why, Tyson? But why?
Because of this. We were reading it for this show, and it's inspired us. But you put out a really cool tweet of that, and then you included... It was fun showing you guys the process as I drew this. What are your thoughts on Toyble's AF? So I like how sneaky you are, because it gave us, content. Do you want to read them, Ken, or should I? Should we split it? How do you want to do it?
Well, I'll start since it's my tweet. Thank you.
It's your tweet.
Yeah, I'll start. So KF, thank you, Takahashi, at KF Tragic, but I've known him as Kill-A-Foe, so that's what I'm going to call him. It's still top 5 DB fan mangas out there in my book, but the bar is solo. I don't think it really means much. But it has some great character moments, and I enjoy it.
That's very true. I wanted to bring it up, and I totally forgot. Do you guys have any favorite panels from this? Because it's not a panel, but the chapter title page for chapter 1, I love, of just like everybody in the building and like Pan pulling at Goku, and all you can just see his shadow on the floor.
That's what almost
that's good.
Made me consider reading it back in the day, because I would not have touched that otherwise. But yeah, it looked great. Anything with Super Saiyan 4 Gohan just looks fantastic. You could tell he loved drawing that.
You want to take this next one, or do you want me to take it for Zamostin at SS MOVA 44?
I'll read that one.
Sounds like you've already started taking it.
No.
I'm
I'll read
taking it. All right.
Zamostin at Super Saiyan MOVA, SS MOVA 44. I felt pretty neutral about it when I read it. Nothing was too terrible about it, but nothing really caught my eye either. I actually think the most interest I had in Toyble's AF was when looking at the drafts for the last unfinished pages. I enjoy Young Gigi's a lot more. Oh, he did he? Okay.
I have never read Young Gigi's version, so I don't have any point of comparison. I assume, Ken, you have?
I have read some of it. I don't think I have read the whole thing.
Okay.
I love Young Gigi's art on Twitter, so like that, I don't know. And his creativity, too, with a lot of stuff, so I would be inclined to read it.
I have nothing to offer. I don't even know who this person is, who Young Gigi is.
You
haven't even seen the art or
maybe I
anything
have, but I don't know if who the person is. So
you definitely have.
Yeah, you probably have.
Okay, gotcha.
I have it all on my computer when the time comes. I mean, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. We all need to chime in with allegedly every time. Okay, well, I'll take this one. From New at New Angel 03. Not going to claim it's a masterpiece, but out of all of the fan mangas I've read, it's the one that most screams Dragon Ball to me, so I can't help but like it. I would agree with that. I think that the art really captures where the art was at that time, at the end of the Z run during GT, and yeah, there's some good character moments there that, like we had brought up before. There's some comedy bits that really land that feel Toriyama-ish, like Piccolo. Just like, man, I'm in hell and I just got to keep fighting these guys. And like, yep, that's what he's going to be doing.
I would argue it feels more Dragon Ball GT than Dragon Ball.
I mean, it's certainly cribbing from that because that's where it's, pulling from its most recent thing at the time.
Yeah, but I mean, just the way it doesn't nail it as hard as the OG story does.
That it's by committee and like, how cool can we make this?
Yeah, it's like
being
both,
very forceful.
both opposite ends of the spectrum, where like the committee makes GT, but then a fan makes this. So it's like it's not right. It's not meeting in the middle, where it's a good not combination. What the word I'm looking for? Yeah, whatever combination.
Yeah, it's a good combination.
Compromise is what I'm looking for.
It almost still is kind of by committee if you consider the committee to be all the tracing Toyotarou does in this.
So many shots.
Which
I'm
he
like,
admits
oh
to.
yeah, and he's like,
Yeah.
The
For
shot.
a fan manga, who cares?
The shot of Goten like on the ground in the same outfit that Gohan was after he got defeated by Majin Buu.
Yeah, and even the shot when Xicor is blasting Goten away is just Boo blasting Gohan.
Yeah, the Majin Vegeta blasting the stadium.
Yeah.
A lot.
But it's a fan thing. Like, whatever, man. Whatever it takes for you to get across this and, harken back to readers' memories of these things that happened before.
Yeah, I didn't roll my eyes at it. I was like, oh, that's fun.
There's one more person who quote retweeted me instead of commenting.
Oh, they were a ninja.
This is Alfie at A Geek for Fun. They say, I really, really like Goku's scenes in the Dragon Realm, and my only regret about it not getting finished is seeing how that all would have resolved when he eventually took back focus. Mm-hmm. Again, so it kind of repeats what we're saying is that this is an unfinished product. So it's, we'll never know. Only we could have seen this turn into something more.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
great preview.
I'm kind of let down that the fusing with the dragon gives you 10 times more strength is just him becoming the Super Saiyan 5 that we have all seen. So it's like nothing more creative than that is what I'm afraid would have happened.
But what if it's really cool, Doug? What if it's the coolest shit you've ever seen in your entire life?
Guarantee you it wouldn't be.
I don't know, man. Super is pretty cool. You should see what this Toyotarou guy's getting up to.
When he doesn't have to do the anime stuff, I think it's good. It's good times.
All right. Listeners, do you think Doug will love the Super manga? Yes or no? Let us know.
After like my input of AF, let's see.
Yeah. We're going to get to Moro and Doug's going to give his impressions and it's just going to crush my soul. Because I love that arc so much.
I think like I just said a little while ago is that I think maybe the Super manga is that compromise I'm looking for where it's both fan and by committee meet in the middle and make a comprehensive series.
Send me that thumbs up emoji and we'll do the next 4 pages.
We'll do.
We'll finally finish chapter 1.
Finally, this the purple cat. It's looking really interesting.
Yeah.
So I brought up before that Spotify, where we have this episode, you could get it anywhere, but specifically on Spotify, they have some tools here where you can interact with your show. And I've put on a question and a poll for our previous episode where we talked all about Vegeta. And I wanted to read some stuff that's here so that, you can interact with it too. And I want to urge all of our listeners to head over to the show on Spotify and throw in your thoughts on here. First up was the poll, which was Vegeta, great character or greatest character. And we actually have 3 options you could choose from. Obviously, great, greatest, and our third option, a bad and wrong opinion. Which I'm glad to see nobody has a bad and wrong opinion. I will say the majority of voters say he's the greatest. And then below that is obviously great.
It's funny how, I think before going into that episode, I was just, very sick of Vegeta. And I think that's just because of how much the fandom hypes him up, I guess, for the wrong reasons. But then during the episode, as we talked about his great moments and his great character, it's like, oh, yeah, he is a great person. Because, I was ready going in there like, no, Vegeta's so overrated. But no, he's pretty rated.
I think what I'm learning is that we have great influence over what Doug thinks and feels. That he's very influenceable.
I am, yeah. Unfortunately.
We can mold him to be number 1 Moro stan.
Molding? Talking about figures again? I'll get a figure of what mold.
We've got to make Moro figures, and then Doug will be interested. Besides that poll, I put up a Q&A asking what character should we analyze next, because we've done Trunks, and then we did Vegeta, and we have a couple of responses here. Jacob Sawyer always a pro, that dude, says Piccolo. Would love to see more about Piccolo. And I think some dude named Ken likes him for whatever reason.
top tier character.
Yeah. So we could get to that. I think that'd be fun. And another person named Taro who says Bulma, which I think could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Because she's been around since the start. And that'd be good. Bulma's good and I think is underrated. No, I'm not going to talk about it. There was a post on Reddit that I thought was really weird.
Oh, no. Well, no, yeah.
Bulma, and I'm not going to bring it up.
I love Bulma. It's a shame that a lot of us started with Z, so she started off as a secondary character to us, where really she was a main character in the original from the start.
Right. Which carries over for me and how I think about her, because I really only think about her as the character she was, at the start of Z and things like that.
We all went through it where she was a secondary character to us, but then we rewatched the series from the beginning and understand, no, she's an integral part of the story.
Mm-hmm.
If I open my mouth at all, this is going to turn into that Bulma episode, and we'll be here another 2 hours, so I'm just going to keep quiet.
Well, we'll get to it. I look forward to that 2-hour podcast
Viewers,
episode where it's
check
just
how much
Ken.
time is left on this episode and see if Ken opened his mouth or not. You can sneak peek.
If you see that you're only a third of the way through this episode, we let Ken talk. So we're not going to do that. So I'm just going to close it here and say thank you, everybody, for listening. We love interacting with you and keeping you in the conversation, talking about our favorite franchise in the world. You can tweet at us at WeGotAPod. You can email us at WeGotAPod@gmail.com.
Thank you to Rifti Beats for letting us use his track, Kakarot Theme Hip Hop Trap Remix. You can find that track and other great music by Rifti on his SoundCloud. Want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Ken, where can the good people find you?
Yeah, check me out on twitter.com/DetectiveX. Check out that Xicor picture we've been talking about.
Hell yeah.
Randy, you?
You can find me at Saber_Breaker on Twitter. Please also check out my other podcast, Revolutionary Podcast Utena, where me, a sort of expert, shows Utena to a friend who's never seen it before, and we talk about it. It's all done. You can go out there. You can listen to all, I think, 14 episodes, and that's there. And apparently, I'll soon have a new podcast called Neon Randosis Doug Vangelion.
Excuse me?
I see that Ken is currently silently dying, so I can only assume he wrote that.
April Fools, Randy!
Is it the April Fools that I've been roped into another podcast to talk about Evangelion with Doug?
Let's do it.
Oh, you're so slick.
Oh, no.
Well, I'm 13 episodes into my rewatch currently, so
For the millionth time, yeah.
I'll start
me
over
too,
again.
and I still don't get it. You can find me at DripAssDoug on all the socials. If you like a little show, please go ahead and subscribe. And if you really want to help out even more, write us a review or tell your fellow Dragon Ball fans about us. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Bye.